Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. It is Sunday. It is 12 p.m. And as you know, Sundays 12 p.m. we have the Communal hosted by yours truly, Kojo Easy Damptey. And at the Communal, we have conversations. We try to make connections, and we're trying to build a community, a global community, transatlantic community. So transcontinental community. So today, I'm excited to introduce you to our guest. Our guest today is Haruun Ali. He'll be telling you a little bit more about what he's been up to. But before we hand it over to Haroon and get him to introduce himself and talk about what he's been up to, for those of you that are joining in and watching, this is our third episode. Our first episode, we talked about towards LGBTQIA plus discrimination and rights. We tried to talk about what was going on in Ghana, what's going on in Hamilton and in Canada and in Brazil, and trying to connect all of the violence and discrimination that's going on, especially as people talk about Pride Month, right? So that was our first episode, and then our second episode, we got Dr. Emil Joseph to talk about white supremacy, critical race theory. Critical race theory has become a huge lightning bolt discussion. So he gave an explanation of what it is, and then also this idea of wokeness. So that was an interesting conversation. And now this week we took a break last week. It was Father's Day. We gotta take a break from time to time. So we took a break last week, and so this week we have Haroon. And Haroon, just to give you a brief introduction, I'll let him do the extensive introduction. Haroon Ali is a candidate running for Edmonton City Council, and the municipal elections in Alberta is in October 2021. And Haroon is one of the candidates, and so we decided to invite him on here to tell us a little bit about what he's up to. So Haroon, thank you for joining us. And before I hand it over to you, just so those that are watching, just so that you know, Haroon has been having difficulty with his camera, so that's why you're not seeing him, but we're able to hear him. So that's the good thing. So Haroon, can you tell us, a little bit about yourself and why you're running for council?
Yeah, of course. Well, good morning to everyone. Over here in Edmonton, it is 10 a.m. now. And yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, my name is Haruun Ali. I am a political science student at the University of Alberta. I am an activist. I am a community organizer. And I've been about in the community for the past couple of years, connecting with folks. I decided a year ago that I was going to run for city council. And that's what I've been doing. I've been connecting with folks. We have over 250 donors strong. We have lots of volunteers, and I am generally excited for this election. I cannot wait to see the potential for us to potentially win, or for us to get some good experience as a campaign team.
So can you tell us why you decided to run, especially when you look across the candidates that ran for municipal elections, the whole of Canada. I would be surprised to say that you would have many candidates that are even under the age of 25. So why run at this age, and why do you think it's important for someone like you at this stage of your life to run for office?
Yeah, I firmly believe that we students are the ones that are going to be taking over the city in a couple of years. I want to build a city that I want to stay in. I want to create a city that we keep Edmonton talent in Edmonton. I want to work. I don't want to send our university talent over to Toronto. Toronto already has so many. We need to keep Alberta talent in Alberta, and that's what having a city council, what's called University of Alberta on city council will do. I will work with the University of Alberta Student Union. I will work with the University of Alberta admin to make sure students stay here, and I'll work with students because I'm running in the Strathcona area where most students do live in that area. I will connect with them. I will make sure that we keep them here because it is so important to Edmonton's future. Another thing that really motivated me to run actually was the Black Lives Matter movement. I saw that and I really wanted policy change to come from that. I am proud to be the only candidate in the Ward Papastew committed to what's called reducing police funding. I'm the only candidate in the Ward Papastew that has a clear police reform plan, and I will stick to it. I will work on it every single day. I will work with our city councils to make it a reality.
So can you now that you've mentioned Black Lives Matter, reducing police budgets, can you expand on it a little bit? How do you intend to accomplish that, and what does that mean for the community in Edmonton?
Yeah, of course. So for me personally, I want to achieve my police reform plan by working with other city councillors. For me personally, besides my own vote, I need 6 other city councillors to be able to pass legislation here in Edmonton, and that is one of the reasons why I'm active. I have connected with every single city council candidate that I believe have similar beliefs, and I have met with them, and I'm excited to get working on city council with them. We have lots of progressives running in the city, and I believe this is a good opportunity for us to get some good change done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I also think too that and the Black Lives Matter movement, it was a strong movement, but here in the city of Edmonton City Council really diluted that movement by starting up a task force that ended up doing nothing, and they have not even taken any of the material or policy changes that the task force recommended to actually do anything yet, and that's a problem.
Yeah. So when do you what's the police budget for the Edmonton Police Service?
About I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I believe it's about 400 million.
400 what?
400 million. I don't have the
Million.
exact number.
Okay,
Yeah, it might be a little
400
bit more.
million. Wow, that's a huge one. So
Yeah.
then in your discussions, how do you plan on reducing that 400 million budget line?
Yeah, I want to pass a very keen piece of legislation that will have that in there that states that we, as city council, we want to make sure our tax dollars are being used efficiently. Edmonton police for years have been pouring resources into a reserve fund, waiting for this day to happen. So they'll be okay. I know for a fact they'll be okay. They're what's called we can't, and especially during a pandemic where other city services got cuts, we need to be as efficient with tax dollars as possible. And that is something I'm promising our city council, that I will be efficient. I will work with other city councils to make sure that we aren't burning money down the road. And fiscal responsibility extends both ways. It extends for police and extends for everything else. And that is something I'm promising our city council, that I will work with the police chief, I will work with city council to make sure that we aren't overfunding the police, and to make sure that we're working with community leaders to make sure our community stays safe. And fun fact too, actually, this city council from 2017 to 2022, they have increased the police budget by guess how much?
Tell us, please. We want to know.
26%.
26%.
They've increased it in the past 4 years. So I have no idea what the city of Edmonton police are doing with that money, but that is the first thing I'll ask from city council. I'll ask for a detailed budget. If they refuse, and I believe they will, I will work with the city councils to make sure that we are spending money as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, 26% budget increase for Edmonton police. Man, that
In 5 years.
Yeah.
And here's the funny part too, actually. You know that 11 million. Remember back in the summer when they were talking, like last year, they were talking about the $11 million they gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just from the reserve fund. They never even lost a dollar from their budget.
Yeah. Can you contextualize or tell us how much this reserve budget or reserve fund is?
Yeah, I said we're looking into the police budget. We're looking into where the money is going, and for me personally, it looks like the money is going into a reserve fund. And not much of the money is going in there. It's $22 million a year. It's slowly moving into the reserve fund. I have absolutely no idea what they're doing with the money. For me personally, I think they're keeping money for a rainy day. I don't know why they need a rainy day, but hey, I will have that be the first question I ask the city council. Why do you guys have a reserve fund, and what are you folks doing with it, and how much is in the reserve fund? That will be the
Mhm.
first three questions I asked to Mr. Police Chief.
Yeah, and those are good questions to ask. I haven't done research around. I'm assuming. Let me just put it this way. I'm assuming that in Edmonton, there's also an Edmonton Police Board that oversees the Edmonton Police Services, right?
Of course, but they're not really. They're not doing. They don't do their job.
Okay, so that's something that you are also going to look at if when you win.
Yes, I will look at their efficiency. I'm very confident that they're not too efficient. I think Edmonton's police commission has essentially become a rubber stamp for lots of things. They become a rubber stamp for everything that Edmonton police comes to them with, and that is deeply, deeply problematic.
Hmm.
We can't have a police force that isn't accountable to the public. As your city councillor, I will work with Edmonton's police and I will make sure that we're being as efficient and as clear with our tax dollars. And that means the Edmonton Police Commission. I'm also a big fan of removing any former politicians, any what's called any former police officers from the commission and making it civilian only. Because I have never believed in my life that politicians most of the time when it comes to this type of stuff don't have the answers. We need community leaders. We need people like Jabril Ibrahim. We need people like Sharif Haji. We need people that actually have connections to the community on this board. That's what we need, and that's something I'll advocate on for city as your city councilor for Ward Papastew.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would say that this phenomenon where police commissions or police boards oversee police services, they do act as a rubber stamp. There's no critical analysis of what is presented by police. There are no real questions asked of them in terms of what benefits they are actually bringing to the community, right? And as you said, you have a police department that has $400 million here in Hamilton. The police budget is 176 million, right? And just recently they had a surplus of 2.1 million, and they are putting it back into their reserve fund as well. So I think this is a practice that we are seeing across the country. And municipalities, city councillors, mayors have to start asking better questions, and we need to understand exactly how the police work and why they're giving so much money. And there's not a good benefit for the community. And in fact, we see racial profiling, carding, and other things, right? So
Of course.
let's talk about other things that you want to see for the city of Edmonton. What is the next priority that you think is an important issue for people in Edmonton right now?
Of course, fare free transit. I think that actually no, I'm sorry. I think the next big issue would be houselessness. We, as a city of Edmonton, we are facing an epidemic of houselessness in the city, and we're facing an epidemic of poverty. That is a problem that we've been facing. We're also facing an epidemic of addiction and opiate in the opioid crisis. The opioid crisis has been in Edmonton for a long time, and with the United Conservative government, we have essentially we are robbing help from people that need it. And as city council for Ward Papastew, I will work directly with AHS to fund safe consumption sites. I will do my best to make sure that we are giving people the support that they need, because I do not believe withholding treatment is a solution. We also need to build more supportive housing as much as possible, and I will work with stakeholders in the community to get that done. I'll also work with stakeholders shelters across the city to make sure we are supporting them, to make sure that they can do something, and that is something I will do as city council for Ward Papastew.
Yeah, the issue of housing is, again, I can't underestimate it. We're seeing this across the country. I think it was last week. We saw what happened in Toronto at Trinity Bell Park, where there were uh, 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 hundreds of police officers that came to tear down an encampment, and it's getting to a point where we really need to start addressing these issues. And we just talked about it. How does a police department have 400 million and yet people are unhoused, right? How does a police have 176 million and yet people are unhoused? So I think that's a huge issue that, again, we all have to come to grips to, and we have to start looking at preventative ways as opposed to incident response, right?
Of
So
course.
what like, how is that going to work for you? How are you going to achieve it? What are the critical actions or steps that you are talking to people in your community about?
For the my sorry, for what, sorry?
For
I
housing,
missed that.
for providing
Oh
housing.
yeah, for housing. Well, this is technically a provincial jurisdiction, but something I will do is that I will work with community stakeholders to provide a plan that shows the Alberta government how we plan to end homelessness and send them the bill for it. Because essentially, at this point, we are doing the government's job, and that is not our job as city council. That's not a mandate. So, if the province does not want to do their job, I believe firmly that it becomes the responsibility of the municipality. However, the bill should still be stuck with the province. I will fight for that, and honestly, I believe that if necessary, I think the city should take the province to court, because essentially they have essentially failed the Albertan people, and they've created this scenario where people are not even able to get basic support.
Hmm. And so, I think the same thing applies here in Ontario. So you are saying to take them to court. How would that work? How would that process work? How do you see it panning out, if that's the action that needs to be taken?
Yeah, I think it will pan out very, very well. I think if we're able to, what's called, it's going to be an election year for them, and I think they're going to have to listen. If we pressure them at the right time, they will listen.
Okay. All right. So what is another issue? I know you mentioned free fare transit. Did I get that right?
Fair free transit.
Fare free transit. Yeah. So how do you see that happening, and why do you think it's important for folks in Edmonton?
Of course. So our environment right now, the city here in Edmonton, we have a city plan. The city plan lays a bold new vision for the city of Edmonton, and I believe it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. However, I think the fair free transit will solve a lot of its concerns. I think the number one concern that we have here in Edmonton is road maintenance. The reason why we have such poor road maintenance is that essentially the city of Edmonton has grown beyond its size. We have created a city that is way too big for itself to sustain itself. That's why property taxes are so high here. It's because urban sprawl done by former city councillors has resulted in this now. So I think the solution here is to make transit free for everyone to hop onto. I think the solution here is to make Edmonton a model city for other cities to follow. I will partner with the federal government to see this can be a trial program to see how this can work. But I think we can do something here, and I think other cities will follow. Transit should be free because first off, it makes we'll have less emissions in the air. we'll have less cars on the road, and we'll have more folks taking public transit that will help save our environment, that will help save our city. And another thing too is that when you're not driving, you're able to do more things. Like, let's say if you want to read a book, let's say if you want to catch up on some work, you know what I mean? It's easy for you to pop up your laptop, but you can't do that when you're driving. So we want to make a city that is well connected and has a stretch system that works for the majority of people.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I mean, are there any cities where you've seen this the idea of transit should be free happen?
Yeah, there are a couple of cities in the United States that have done like versions of it where they have like maybe a weekend, they have the bus line, but I don't have the I know there's a trial program going in one city right now. I don't have the exact name of it, but I think it will be a good program for Edmonton, and I think it will give us some good feedback and good ideas. I might be wrong, and I think and I've always said this, that I never have all the answers. All I have are ideas, and I'm willing to listen and to learn and to get more knowledge. That's what we're all here to do.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and so let's delve into that a little bit, because I think sometimes the ideas that are presented, they they are they surely come from a place of where we're trying to build better communities, right? But we still have to have conversations about, I think when people hear free transit, I think the first question they ask is, then who pays for it, right? So then what I mean, I have an answer for that, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I believe, and this is something I'll do, is that I will work with the city of Edmonton, the provincial government, and the federal government to do a 30-30-30 split. I want to take on 30% of the cost. The province take on 30% of the cost, and the federal government take on 30% of the cost for 2 years. We'll do a trial program. We'll see if it works. If it is an efficient manner, I hope to work with the Liberal government to make sure that we're able to do it. Because I think, and we've seen this continually, that the Liberal government will take on ideas that it thinks are good. So that is something that we will do. I think that is something I will work with the city councils on to do. I'll put the federal government on this, and I'll work with other city councils to get this done.
Hmm. Yeah, when we talk about transit to, I think you mentioned it. It allows us to reduce greenhouse gas effects, right? For the environment, and we don't spend enough on transit, right? If we give a free pass to policing, and I think you said it, what you said there was a 26% increase
Yeah.
for Edmonton police, right? And I think the return on investment on policing is way less than the return on investment on, say, transit or public health or housing, right? Because then, if anybody can travel anywhere in the city by just hopping onto the bus or LRT or any other mode of transportation, right? It's way the incentives there are so huge, right? So I think we really, really have to do more investments in transit and multi multi transit, right? Not just
Multimodal.
buses. Yeah, not just buses. We need people using bikes. How do we integrate bike lanes into roads? Because I think you said it yourself. Cities spend so much on roads, right? There's the building of the road, the maintenance of the road, the re-maintenance of the road, the paving of the road, and all and all of that. But we never put some of that money into alternative modes of transit. So I think, yeah, free transit should be free. And it can be done in multiple ways. So we've tackled, police accountability. We've tackled the housing issue, transit. What else is on your platform, or what else do you think folks in Edmonton folks talking about and feel like should be addressed during the elections this year?
Of course, Islamophobia. That is the number one thing that should be discussed in this election. I believe that Islamophobia is a cancer to the society, and it's been sticking its ugly head in the city of Edmonton for far, far too long. And I, as city council for Papastew, I will, and we have had a lot of hate crimes happen in our ward specifically. I will work with stakeholders. I will work with EPS, and I'll make sure that every single Muslim woman feels safe in this city. Because I found it disgusting that people can't even walk down the street without fearing.
Yeah, that definitely is a huge an issue that needs to be addressed. Do you have any ideas of how you're going to do that? Because I think what we've also seen is that um, elected officials always say we need to stomp out Islamophobia, we need to stomp out racism, but then there's no plan of action. So for you, what will be the step by step action that you are going to take?
Yeah, of course. And this, I'll be very fair with you. This is something that has what's called, we're working on it as a campaign team, our policy director, and I are coming up with multiple different ideas. And I believe some of the things that we can do, and especially on transit, is we need to get more people on transit. And that's one of the reasons why I like my Fare Free Transit plan so much. Because the more people we can get on transit, the less likely crimes like this actually happen. And as city council for Papastew, I will work with community stakeholders to make sure. I'll work with people like Jabril Ibrahim, who is the president of the small community, what's called of Edmonton, and people like Sharif Haji, who's the president of Africa Center, to really make sure that we're actually bringing these community leaders to the table and we're developing an action plan because they have so much more knowledge than I do.
Yeah, so then in your discussions with them, what are some of the two items that they think the city needs to do right now to address hate crimes, Islamophobia, xenophobia?
I haven't reached out to them at the moment yet, but we'll be meeting them up this upcoming week. But at the moment right now, I don't have anything right now regarding that.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think that's something that really needs to be addressed because again, for majority of folks that do this work, the critique has always been yes, politicians always say we need to address these things, but they never come up with action items to get there. I'll share this with some of our viewers and also yourself as you tackle this issue is Hamilton has the number one hate crimes per capita in the whole of Canada, right? And I think municipalities need to start developing bylaws to address issues around hate incidents and hate crimes in public spaces, right? And there might need to be some tweaking of what public spaces are and where and all of that. But I think municipalities need to start taking these issues seriously. So one, bylaws. Two, education. But let's remember that education too is as limited as it can be, right? We see what happened. I believe there was a gentleman that had their beard cut off, and they were beaten. Like sometimes education doesn't get the work done because these ideas of white supremacy are deeply ingrained in institutions and peoples. So provincially, there needs to be change in legislation, and then federally, there should also be a rewrite of the criminal code, especially under hate incidents and hate crimes. So I think that's something that you know you and your team can look at and expand and see how. This can be done so that we don't see these incidents happening, whether it's in Edmonton, whether it's in London, Hamilton, Toronto, and wherever else. So let's talk about I did some research about Edmonton, and I did hear, and you can expand or tell us a little bit more because I think it's important to address this. All the wards in Edmonton have indigenous names, right? Names that are related to indigenous history. Is that true?
Yes, all words in the city of Edmonton actually have indigenous names. Papastew was actually a leader of the Papastew tribe, and I forgot the exact meaning of it, but I could pull it up if you want.
Yeah, if you can pull it up and share it, because I think, we need to. We need to start talking about indigenous issues in this country, right? And after doing my research and finding that out, I think, yeah, that is one step. It doesn't, these steps there are different steps to take, right? But I think that by doing that, by uh, um, having names of words related to indigenous history, it's a great way to get us to learn about the history of many indigenous communities, nations, and peoples, right? So were you able to pull it up and
Yeah.
share it? Yeah,
So the
please
actual
please
meaning of the
share it.
word, yeah, the actual meaning of the word is large woodpecker.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Papasteo, he was actually a leader of the I'm probably butchering it, Papa's Chase band, number 36, 136.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you know how this came about? The
Uh,
naming.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we were doing a rebounding of the city, and an indigenous community came to us and said, "Hey, we want you to use these names." And city council loved the idea, and we went with it.
Okay. No, that I think that is definitely um uh something that definitely needs to be looked at in other municipalities, obviously based on input from indigenous communities, nations, and
Of
people,
course,
based on geography and location. But after reading that, I thought that was very, very it's a way of addressing one of the calls to actions in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, right? That we as settlers, we need to know the history of indigenous peoples on this land, right? So,
of course.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, um, you've spoken to us about some of the the things you think are important based on your interactions with people living in Edmonton. Can you share with us how it has been, some of the challenges or some of the interesting things you've noticed while campaigning during a pandemic ahead of the October election date?
Yeah, I'm gonna be very fair with you. I very much think a lot more people are engaged this cycle. That is something I'm very interested in. I think it's because so many candidates are using social media to their advantage. I think folks in this election, I think we're gonna have a really good turnout. I'm excited, and I think people are really ready to see something better. This pandemic really opened everyone's eyes to that. Yeah, we can do better as a city, and I think people want to do better now, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited.
Mm-hmm. So then, how have you been doing? Because pre-pandemic, you see candidates and their team do door-to-door canvassing, community meetings, town halls. So how have you been connecting with people aside from using social media
Yeah, we've been using a range of tools. We've had about 9 different town halls, virtual ones.
virtually?
Yes, we've also connected with folks. It's called through flyer drops. We're gonna be starting door knocking pretty soon here, and I think folks. And as Jason Kenny has said, we're open for summer. I don't believe that fully, but our team will be wearing masks and we will have hand sanitizer, and we'll be out on the door soon.
Okay, okay. So then you anticipate that, getting closer to October, you'll be able to then start doing some of the traditional campaigning that everyone is used to.
Of course.
Okay. And then the flyer drops, can you expand on how that has been working?
Yeah, flyer drops are quite the interesting thing. For me personally, I know how I deal with flyers. I take them and I put them right in the trash. And it's something, and it's such a, you know what I mean, it's such a normal for a lot of us. So it's something that, you know what I mean, that I believe is not the best use, is not too effective, but at the same time, though, we want to be connecting with as many folks as possible.
Mhm, mhm. And have there been any virtual debates with other candidates?
No, I have not had a chance to virtually debate anyone. I'm looking forward to it, though. It should be. I love debating. I did debate for a couple of years, and it was a fantastic. I just love debating.
Okay, so you think it will be on the horizon, like, getting close to October?
Oh yeah, I'll very much be. I think debating is one of my strongest assets.
Mhm.
I know what all I need to do is I need to be a little more concise, but I'm really strong at debating.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So can you also tell us about other candidates that are running in Edmonton that you share the same values, or you feel like you'd be able to work together? Because out here in Ontario, I don't know that many people are following Edmonton politics, but the reason for this show is to make connections, right?
Of
So we
course.
we wanna, if you can mention some of the folks that you feel like you've had a chance to connect with them, and you feel like they share your values and political ethic, and you feel like you'll be able to work with them if and when you're elected. So can you share some of their names?
Unfortunately, I actually can't, because if I do get elected and somebody looks at this recording, they might not be a happy camper with Haroon.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm glad that
I
that's
have to
a
think
good.
of a city councilor now.
Yeah, I know. You're a veteran already. Good, good.
Yes, but I'll send you
But
recommendations privately.
okay, but one thing, okay, then let me say, let me ask this question in another way. Um, I think on your website or on your Twitter page, you mentioned that there hasn't been um a black city councillor, right?
Yeah.
So, um, what are the numbers of non-white candidates that are running this time around?
Well, there's five black. No. Yeah. Yeah. Five black candidates so far.
Okay,
There's Johanna Hoyle in Ward Ipicocan and Piotisium. There's Adrian Bruff in Ward O'Damon. There's Gerard in what's called Ward Dene. There is Shamir Turner in Ward Gary Hero. I think I said that one wrong. There is who else is left? Oh, there's me and Papastew. I think that's it though. I don't think there's any other black. Well, there's some mayoral candidates that are black, but for city council, those are the only five.
okay. And what about other racialized candidates? Do you know?
Yeah. Liz John West, she is running for city council in Ward Métis. Who else is okay. You're putting me on the spot, my friend.
It's a so that okay.
And I have been nomad. Oh, sorry, my bad. I left. I have been nomadic out. I have been nomadic. Ali, he's a black candidate. He's running for city council in Ward Testawaniac. Uh, who else though? Ward 4. Then that's the name. Ward 5. Um, I think that's a Ward 6. No. Sorry, give me 1 second. I don't think there's anyone in Ward 6 that's racialized. Ward 7, Giselle General. And Ward 8, that's just me. Ward 9. Oh, Giselle, I'm gonna pronounce your name wrong, so I won't say that. I have to do better with names. And in Ward 10, what's called, that would be Johanna Hoyle. And yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, and Rashpal Sembi in Ward I forgot how to say the name of that ward. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but there are a lot of racialized candidates in this election right now.
Okay, so then that's good news, right? We have we
Yes.
have we have racialized candidates putting their names forward to run for office. And that has always been I think that hasn't happened in the past historically, but then that's good. We have a question from TK Daniel on Facebook. I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but the question is there. TK Daniel is asking, any preliminary polling results?
There's not any polling that we've done publicly yet. Near the election, we'll be doing some polling, but I think mostly our strong point will be in the university area, where there's about 5 to 10,000 university students. I think that's where most of our strong point will come from.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, TK, if you have any more questions, just put them in the chat, and we'll ask Mr. Ali. Yeah. We I think we have about 20 minutes or so. So what I wanted to ask was, as you get closer to being able to do more door-to-door knocking and reaching out to folks, what are your next plans for the next couple of months before October? How do you see yourself finishing strong, or should I say just connecting with people in Papastew?
I think I see myself door knocking continuously as much as possible. Door knocking is the oldest recipe in the book, but it's the best.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And where I read on your website somewhere or in one of your videos, uh, you talked about being nonpartisan. Is that
Yes.
true? So what does that mean for you when you say nonpartisan? As
My
somebody that
confidence.
as someone that is running to become a city councillor.
Yeah, I've been involved in numerous different political parties. I believe that what's called right now for this election, I'm not running for any political party. I'm out with the NDP. I'm out with the Liberal Party. I'm Haroon. I am Haroon Jabril Ali, and that is what I am. I am running for city council, not for a provincial or federal position, and I hope to work with all parties across all lines. And yeah, that's what it means to me. Being nonpartisan, being willing to work with anyone in power.
Mhm. So then that leads me to follow up with, um, what then is your political ideology when making decisions about things that would affect residents of Edmonton?
I don't make political. I don't align myself with ideology. I look at ideas. I think if they're a good idea, I evaluate them on the merits. I have never in my life ever looked at an idea and said it's not liberal. Get out of my face.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't believe in that. I think ideological people slow down progress, and I think it makes it harder to govern.
Hmm. So then, how do you when you talk about, for example, transit, right? What are the merits of free transit without a political ideology when others that you serve with might see it from that point of view?
If others that I serve with want to be ideological, I can't stop them. Yes, is it socialist? Of course it is, but that's not my intention. I'm not trying to make the city of Edmonton a socialist harbor. I'm trying to make the city of Edmonton a more equitable city. And sure, some of my beliefs align with socialism. I don't think I don't, and I'm not saying I'm not a socialist. I'm not saying that our campaign is promoting socialism. Our campaign is wanting to address the issues of equity in the city of Edmonton, and that is something that we will do on city council. I will work continuously with my office and my team to make sure that we're addressing those issues. And if councillors want to become ideological, I can't stop them. But I don't intend to. I don't intend to. I don't intend to let them put me into a little box and ship me off because that's ideology. Ideology is an interesting subject in school, but once you're out of school, I don't think it's something that should be guiding life decisions. I think that's a slippery slope to making a big mistake down the road one day.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
then, when you're connecting with people at the door, or connecting with people through email and what have you, you are you are saying that you're trying to come up with solutions that have material outcomes for their lives that makes their community better, right?
Of course.
Okay, all right. uh just looking here at some of the comments. Okay, so um oh, let's see.
Yes,
TK.
ideologies win elections practically, but in reality, for city council elections, they don't. The ideology has never, honestly, and I'll be fair too, most people too, when they look at a policy, immediately they can tell if it's something they want to be on board with. I just don't think that ideology in this circumstance for an election, for a municipal election too, I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it will help. I think it will actually further divide because city council has been designed in a way that is non-partisan. It has been designed in a way to make sure that people can do it. Anyone can do it. If, an 18-year-old can do it, a 45-year-old can do it, a 70-year-old can do it because it's non-partisan. The second you bring partisanship into it, the second you bring ideologies into it, that's when problems arise. Because then city councils don't want to work with you, and then it becomes hard to even legislate. It becomes hard to govern. It becomes hard to do any of your platform. And I don't want to become a lame duck on city council. I have a big, 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 bold agenda, and I got to work with community leaders. I can't spend my time arguing with the city councilors on down at city hall.
Mhm. Yeah, and so it's a very interesting. I think we could do a whole we could do a whole episode on that.
Yeah,
But your point is well taken. But I think I can't speak for TK, but I think sometimes when we talk about. Oh yeah, TK says he understands. Yeah, so there you go. You you explained it for TK.
of course.
I would join and say in saying that um the the individuals though at council come with life experiences, right?
Of course.
So sometimes what happens is when you have people that have the same life experiences, policy making decision align around those life experiences, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say you can, those things are devoid of policy decisions, right? So, for example, and I cite this example to let people know about the history of Canada, in the past, you could only run for office if you're a white man and if you own property, right?
Yeah,
So when you're at a council table, those things influence whether you're going to allow black people to own land or not, or whether you're going to allow women to vote or not, right? So sometimes, the experiences of people impact the decision making at a in a space where like a council table, right? So I think that is one thing that we have to at least acknowledge, that policies are not always debated upon in a on an equal playing field, right?
of course
Because
not.
if
They
you
never debated. Equal
yeah,
playing field. I've been watching city council. I know for a fact they don't do. They don't debate policy on the equal merit. No, no, of course not. If they did, that would be fantastic. But unfortunately, they don't. And I
mhm,
think, and it's really hard to do. You know what I mean? I think it's a struggle for a lot of city councilors. It's a struggle even for me. You know what I mean? When I'm approached with an idea that I think will cut communities, my ears go shut. You know what I mean? My ears literally they go, "Oop, I don't want to hear this anymore." Because I do not believe the answer to get out of this pandemic is to cut city services. I have never believed that. I have never advocated for that. And I will never, ever accept that on city council.
yeah, and I think what it shows, as we continue to move forward, because we never, we're still, dealing with the pandemic. We don't know what will be coming in the next 10 years. There are health experts saying these things will become a phenomenon. We're seeing what's happening with climate change, extreme weather, all of these things. I think maybe what is the lesson there is that we need to start critically listening and
Quote.
working together to figure out how to come out with better outcomes for everybody in the community and not just for a few people, right? And
Exactly.
by listening, it's not just passive listening, but actually listening to people to see where they are at, and also question the role of politicians, right? Because I think if you notice during this pandemic, and I'm just speaking from my experience here, maybe in Edmonton things are done differently and you can share with us your experience. I think the role of politicians have been questioned because during the pandemic, they were nowhere to be found providing support for community. It was community members that were literally, providing material support for people. So I think politicians need to really start asking themselves, yes, they have a role to play in providing legislation and representation, but then there are the outcomes on the streets. There are the outcomes at home. There are the outcomes for children, for seniors, for people that don't have housing. And what is the role of a politician to kind of bridge all of those things? So I think those are all questions that you will have to contend with as you continue on this journey to get you at a council table in October, right?
Of course.
So we have 10 minutes. I'm going to give the final word to you to say whatever it is you want to say, and then I'll wrap it off.
Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you to you. Honestly, I really truly appreciate the opportunity to come speak, and this is a fantastic opportunity, and I'm really excited for the election. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Like I said, this thing that we're doing called the communal, we just have conversations with people, and then people that sign in, they can connect with you. Oh, what's your website? We need to share your website.
Oh, of course, Haruun.ca.
Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, so now people can connect with you, see what you're doing. Um, yeah, and we want to build a community too, right? Like we want to build a community without geographical restrictions. So every week we talk to people all over the world. It could be here in Canada, it could be somewhere in Brazil. We're just building a global community to kind of make sure that we know exactly what's going on across the world, because sometimes we tend to focus on what's actually happening where we are, but we forget that those things are also linked with other issues across different cities, right? You talked about the housing crisis. You talked about transit. These are things that every city is dealing with, not just even in Canada, but across the world, right? So it's always great to hear your perspective, different perspectives, and yeah, thanks for spending time with us. And maybe, I don't know, who knows, getting close to October, we'll try and have you back to give everybody an update. And then if things align and you come on top after October, we'll still invite you to share
Of
to
course.
share what things you're working on. So yeah, please stay in touch, and we wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, so that was Haroon Ali, running for city council in Edmonton. TK is saying thanks. Yeah, TK, um uh we we yeah we this is what the show is about. We bring people from all corners of the world to talk about things they are working with, so that people that are watching can connect, can learn, can explore other things that people are working on. So yeah, we wish Haroon all the best as he continues yeah, as he continues to campaign and work and stuff. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll see if we can bring some other candidates in our beta to kind of share what they are also doing. But we're done. Thank you for tuning in. So again, every Sunday at noon, um, we're going to be here, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Next week, I think we'll be talking about freedom of speech. What does freedom of speech, uh, what does it mean? Who does it affect? How does it relate to hate speech and all the other stuff that we are seeing in society today? So we'll be talking to a lawyer. Um, we'll be putting out the poster maybe later on tonight or tomorrow, and then you'll be able to know which lawyer we're talking to. And so we hope you can tune in next Sunday at noon. I believe today the live stream didn't work on Twitter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna upload all the episodes on my YouTube channel. So you can always check my YouTube channel for all the episodes. Episode 1, 2S LGBTQ plus I discrimination and rights. Episode 2, a conversation with Dr. Emil Joseph, white supremacy, critical race theory, and wokeness. And we just finished episode 3 with Haroon Ali, candidate for Edmonton City Council. So thank you very much. Stay well. Remember, have conversations, make connections, and always build community. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.